Hi, good afternoon once again. The panel today we have is quite distinguished. A topic that I think each of us wants to know about, to learn from, more so because it's not very visible, right? A common folk, city dwellers, general city regulars will not really experience luxury tourism. It's high end, but there are a lot of learnings from luxury tourism, from sustainable luxury tourism that domestic tourists, that hoteliers can take away. I'll begin with having a quick understanding of how luxury tourism has evolved from Rajnish. We tend to associate the word luxury tourism. It's extravagant, it's high end, but somewhere there is perhaps that's a perception we have. Over the past years also that's evolved, right? People are looking at luxury tourism to be very sustainable. People who offer it want to be sustainable also because you have a clientele that wants to be associated with a brand or an organization or a tour company that is offering them a very low carbon footprint sustainable model. How has that evolved? What has been the change that you've noticed? More so because you are in a space that offers glamping, right? Glorious camping in locations that otherwise people would not frequent too much. More so now in the Northeast, I believe we had a chat where you're going to have some sort of camping in the Hornbill Festival. What are your learnings? How has it changed?
Jai Hind, everyone. Coming to the point straight away, Arun. What I personally feel is these terms: sustainability, responsible tourism, luxury, ecotourism. These are quite in things right now. Everybody would like to use it. Everybody would like to associate that, with the travel and tour packages, hotel operations. In the various aspects of, tourism, people would like to, they love to use these terms. But these terms and practicing these terms effectively on ground, there is a far beyond vision and respect and indulgence, I'll say. Responsible tourism definitely involves, your eco-friendly measures, sustainability measures. It gives you a very non-toxic environment, but it comes at a very high price. Commercially, I'm talking about. It comes at a very high price. If you have a look at what Northeast is right now, what Northeast has, there are two terms that I would like to use for Northeast. There is a potential and there is a reality. So the potential, definitely, if you have a look at the potential is immense. And immense because, the gentleman just before our discussion, gave a very descriptive thing about, how exactly is Meghalaya, what exactly are the challenges, what are the opportunities. So you can see there is a huge opportunity over there. The reality is that we are not close to it, whatever. If you ask me personally, yes, luxury is the way forward as far as Northeast is concerned. I'll be very, very honest about it. Because when you talk about luxury, we are not talking about, the services, we are not talking about the glamour, we are not talking about, everybody is talking about 5-star hotels. I agree, okay, 5-star hotels are also required, so are 4-star or 3-star or budget hotel or homestays. Everything is required, for a complete growth. But luxury is not all about, giving you 5-star hotels and traveling in those fancy cars and all that. Nowadays, if you talk about, the urban way of living is also part of luxury. So luxury, I'm talking about luxury in those terms. When you conserve the natural resource, provide the original experience of that particular location. There are global travelers. India is also, part of it. So Northeast definitely has a mix of Indian travelers as well as, inbound travelers. So when I talk about luxury, I talk about everything clubbed together. It's not only about pure and pure glamorous accommodations and fancy cars and excellent arrangements and a very fluent English speaking guides and this thing. Anybody all the local people they can actually work as a representative of their particular community, state, and this thing, and that would be part of luxury. So luxury is definitely the way forward. But preserving the natural resources is luxury. Getting the entire community involved in the tourism approach is also luxury. And it should not be limited only to, the bling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Antara, I'll come to you. You run a very successful organization, second generation now, ABN. You've put India's riverine routes on the global map. What have been your learnings? And we were earlier having a quick chat about how through COVID you had an offering to domestic tourists, but there were learnings from that, right? Negative as well as positive, and also how you've been helping, or your organization has been helping settlements in the area, communities living around the route. What has been that experience?
Okay, that's a very loaded question because there's a lot to pile in there. I think so. I will give a little snippet of what we have been doing because in us actually pioneering the concept of long distance river cruising journeys and putting our greatest Himalayan rivers on the world river cruising map. So that means that we have a niche clientele around the world that goes on all the greatest rivers around the world, right? And we've put Ganges and Brahmaputra as two of them as part of the journeys. So now when we are entering into very sensitive areas, because when we started this 20 years ago, these are relatively very remote areas that you would go to. So they are inaccessible by road, accessible by river. So they've not been touched by any tourism, is far behind the radar in that regard, but also just coming in as Indian city people going into very remote people's homes. So we had to be very conscious of how we're going to impact them. So I think what we have been able to do is just basic things, of course, is very much riverine local employment strategies, but also ensuring that we are able to distribute economically in some way or the other through all the little villages that we are visiting. That means that we don't want to focus only on, say, on the Ganges. I don't want to focus only on Murshidabad. I don't want to focus only on Chandanagar. I want to go to the smaller villages as well. So we've done small things in each and every place. So from, say, hiring local fishermen's boats, or another place we do rickshaw rides, another place, we have the little boys and girls and we go into their schools, and we ask the village headman how we can actually provide resources that will add value, not monetarily. We're not doing anything monetarily because that's a disaster in the making, but it's about pinpointing from the village headman or actually finding change makers within these communities that we recognize as them making a difference in their community as well. So we have our foundation where 5% of the proceeds goes towards that, towards community development, education, and also the environment preservation. And in employing these people locally from the villages that we are visiting, we are seen as guests instead of being seen as intruders. So we built a rapport over 20 years now. So now coming to the other question, since COVID, it's not like we started looking at domestic market now. I think our river cruises have been available for everybody for 20 years, but we've never done very hardcore marketing. Our only marketing has been through B2B, So we've trusted B2B partners that we've been working with for 20 years now. But now, of course, COVID, that changed the picture completely because travel was not possible from inbound. So we started approaching also domestic tourists. But then we quickly realized that obviously post-COVID, we were thinking, we have to start small and start reasonably. But we also quickly realized that people not understanding what is river cruising, or a layman's perspective from India is like, why do I want to go see a village? And I'm like, because it's also part of your heritage, you should learn more about your own country. And it's a different part of India completely, right? So if it's that kind of a consumer who's only looking at the price point and wants to come and make our ships an experiential learning journey of culture and natural heritage of our two rivers into a disco party, I'm going to say, hell no, please do not come. You know? So I think we have been able to quickly navigate between the two, and you can't please everybody, but you have to ensure that your product is something that is told to them what is going to be received.
Yeah. Prabir, a similar experience at your wild Mahseer, ensuring sustainability to the community living in the area. You were earlier talking about how you've gainfully employed a lot of people from the region. Some experiences to share?
Thanks, Antara. Yeah, no, basically, I just want to put my perspective on luxury. I think in this business, there are two kinds of luxuries. One is the tangible luxury, which is your bed sheet, your bed cover, your towels, your food, and your silverware, all that. One is the intangible luxury, which, forgive me for sounding pedantic, but what I call luxury for the soul. The community connect. The connect with nature, the connect with your cultural heritage and your environmental inheritance, and your connect with the raw earth, let me put it very, very simply, is what gives that luxury for the soul. And I think there has to be a balance of the two, because if you're charging good bucks, certain standards are expected, certain standards are required. But the fact of the matter is that tourists today, whether he's inbound or from the metro cities, and in fact we started getting people from Madurai and Travancore, Trichy, which has never happened before, because they are also looking for luxury for the soul, I believe so. So when they come in, they are willing to really rough it out right through the day. They have no issues, whether it's jungle treks, or it's river rafting, or going to villages and sweating it out, and trying to climb coconut trees with the locals, the works. But they want their basics in the evening. And if that basic element of the physical luxury is complemented with luxuries from the communities and luxuries from the experiences, and luxuries from music, for example, local traditional music, I think that's the only way to do it. And that is, I think, we're not commercially very successful, but I think in terms of perception, we are successful. And I think that has been the reason why we have come where we've come.
Sure. Okay. Oken, a similar experience in the Northeast, I mean, Arunachal, where you operate. You do some very interesting tours, you do some very interesting experiences, right? Going to the World War Museum that you have plans for. People normally just want to associate Arunachal with Tawang, but there's much more to it. And people are looking for that experience where, I think largely most tourism sectors today are so overcrowded and mass tourism, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like a bad word, but it really has taken away the real experience of a person who wants to come in and just experience a town, experience a village, learn about its culture. But there is hope, and I think through some of these soul luxury tours, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad that Rajnish has pointed out that Northeast could be a place where we could, sell luxury tours, because pretty much around India, we have the mass tourism is really growing. Every place is being taken over. I mean, any other town is no different from Kulu, Manali, or Goa. So more and more, I mean, and there's nothing much you can do about it. But I think there should be a place somewhere in India, I mean, where you pay for a price, but you're left alone, and you have the experience worth your money. I mean, where you go, and the cost is not a consideration, but you get for what you pay. A place where austerity is a synonym for your experience. So I'm ready for that vision of plans, and I've been kind of advocating for a long time, not trying to snobbish or anything. But, even in India, there are it's a big market, I mean, with the population of, how much are we now, 1.5 billion? Yeah. So we have about 800,000 millionaires in this country. And think about this 800,000 millionaires with your family, with your friends. They've been to all around the world. They've been to Ibiza, they've been to Greece, they've been to all the places in the world. Now, especially time like COVID, all the 5 stars top-end hotels have sold out by these rich people, Why don't get them here? Get them to spend their money in the Northeast rather than having to spend in, Bahamas, Tahiti's. But that will only happen if we put things in place. Like tomorrow, like I say, in Bhutan, Leonardo DiCaprio goes,
Yeah.
Meryl Streep goes, because they have places to stay. It could be $3,000 a night, but they have places to stay. Now, Antara's place in Kaziranga, royal family could go and stay there because there was a place. But if there wasn't a place, then Kaziranga wouldn't have been on their itinerary. They would have gone to Bhutan, Paro, or something like that. So I think it's just because Northeast is still very low, nothing much has happened. This is a great opportunity, it's a clean slate, and I think luxury travel is the thing we're looking at right now. So,
Rajnish, sorry, please do.
Just let's not forget that 98% of Northeast borders international, which means that 1/3 of the world's population live among us. Why can't the Northeast become the entry point for luxury tourism into the country? Let them come here and then do their Delhi, Agra, Jaipur, Jodhpur, Goas. Just food for thought, I'm saying.
Very good. But also a question for Rajnish, from an industry perspective, what are the challenges you're facing? What are the challenges similar operators like you are facing from a policy perspective? What do you seek to be opened up? The red tapeism, if I may, that you want taken away to enable this to maybe expand. I don't want to say scale because then it takes away from what we're really trying to achieve, but to open up rather.
I very much agree to what you're saying, Aaron. While attending to what other people was, talking, I was just making a couple of notes, and the major challenges, as I said in one line, that responsible tourism is definitely very, very exciting. It leaves it's a big town. Yeah. So it leaves a non-toxic environment behind you, but it comes at a very high price. The setup cost is very high. You need a constant training for the individuals, for the community. Right, that's another thing. People are definitely, there are not many people, globally I'm saying discerning travelers, they would actually opt for something, which is highly sustainable, which is very high on responsible tourism index. But again, the choice of location gets very limited for them, right? That's another challenge. You get, there is very less wastage when you talk about sustainable model and all that. But getting a third party approval, there are various organizations that approve you that you are on a highly sustainable, because if simply I stand and say that I am sustainable, it's not going to, solve the purpose. So that comes at a very high price, and that's very limited, and it's a very tedious process actually. There is relief in tax from the government, but again, then it needs a very continuous training process, for your employees, for, as I mentioned earlier, for the community. There is energy saving, water saving, but again, organic products come, at very high price and high cost compared to the rest. So the challenges and this thing is there. These are the challenges. If you talk to me about, what to do about a sustainable model, a luxury model, as the subject says. So it is possible, but yeah, definitely these are the challenges: high cost, limited opportunity in locations, continuous training, involvement of the local community wholeheartedly. For that particular thing, they need to be aware that this thing is in for their benefit.
Sure.
And support from the government. Just for example, let's say for example, if you want to use a composter to turn all this waste, into manure. Buying a composter is not a challenge, but operating that composter comes at a challenge because it consumes 25 units in an hour,
Yeah.
right? And to tackle that, let's say for example, if you try to go for a solar power thing, that solar power there is no organized channel or support. We all would love to, as far as our let's say for example, the segment that we people are in, we are operating boutique products, experiences. very limited. It's not meant for volumes. It's there for limited number of people. But yeah, we would like to get that particular support from the government, which is missing as of now.
Antara, you wanted to add something?
So I think that responsible, sustainable travel, this is also very passé now in the global sphere, especially after COVID. People are not talking, responsible tourism is something that you should have done maybe 20, 30 years ago. So right now the talk is all about regenerative tourism, which basically means that, say, responsible travel is about keeping the place as it is, so leave no footprints kind of a scenario, but regenerative is about leaving the place better than you ever found it. So that means that this is the time for Northeast India, because we are kind of in the crux of like both of these two, where what we are lacking in massively is that our destination is not known on the global sphere. When I go for international travel fairs, Northeast, they can, see, you have to understand the average travel company, they're looking at the whole world. So when they look at India, the only effort that has been gone through on a large scale has been Rajasthan, Kerala, Goa. And anything beyond that is for a person who really has fallen in love with India and then maybe wants to come for the second or third time. So we are far behind in the radar. So that means that we have also zero destination marketing. But now when we are doing a lot of destination marketing from the government point of view, and of course all of us put together, we are also trying to do that, we fall behind in offering quality experiential stays. So all of that has to work together, right? We have to first ensure, with the support of the stakeholders and the government, that we have a common collaborative vision in place, that by say 2030, we want to achieve these set criteria and this is part of our agenda. We are achieving all of this and all of the gamut of things has to come together. And then we can go out into the market and be like, look at all these amazing experiential stays that we have that is so inherent to the region, that is not just preserving, also adding value to all of the rural communities. We have an abundance of that. If we don't take care of that now, we become a homogeneous product like every other part of India. Nobody's coming here because all that we have in Northeast India is our incredible natural heritage, really. Cultural heritage becomes a little bit more difficult to discover, but it's the natural heritage that people are coming for first. And then comes everything else.
And trust me, that doesn't take too long to get destroyed. I mean, I've seen the place. I've seen.
It doesn't take too long, and unfortunately,
when it's 5 years and you're done.
Yes, and then now from I'm talking about it very elaborate manner, that the government is looking at, like the tourism stakeholders are just looking at bringing in big hotel chains. We do not need 100, 200 room hotels here. That's completely ruining everything. Anyway, that's my 2 bits, but obviously everybody.
You want to add something?
Yeah, my 1 bit after fabulous 2 bits. If the government bodies understand thoroughly, really, that tourism is a multi-sector industry. The multiplied effect on employment on tourism, published data, is 7 times more than the manufacturing sector. If you open the business page, maybe 1 article in 10 days will be on tourism, but every day you'll have headlines on IT and industry.
Yeah. It's not given its due.
I personally believe it's not, because the kind of subsidies, incentives, promotions that are done for other sectors, even if 15% is done for the tourism sector, I think we'll be there. Yeah. And see, the good thing is that the Northeast, for whatever reason, lost the industrial bus. We can never become another Karnataka or Maharashtra.
And maybe not also.
Thank God for that, actually, you really ask me. But then this is our industry. So please give it its due. Absolutely, 100 crore. 100
So you're encouraging a different market.
100 CR. You know that day.
Oken, a lot of the conversation happens about, there is obviously no one size fits all. And correct me if I'm wrong, but how can the Northeast states work with each other to share ideas, exchange learnings, positive outcomes that people, that state governments or tourism sectors within the states have learned, in order to help each other scale? Is there something that that can be done? Because I think that is what everyone wants.
Yeah, I mean, number one, we call Northeast, sometimes it could be a misnomer, but we're so diverse, so different,
Yeah.
but people know Northeast.
Yeah.
But we definitely connected geographically, and our itineraries are, it's not never singular, when I have people visit, we usually combine it Assam, Meghalaya, Arunachal, so we really are connected, business-wise, and more ways than one, in the geography. So, I mean, what needs to be created is the consistency of your facilities, consistency of services, but at the same time, stand out on your attractions and visit sites and heritage. I mean, what we should be uniform on is the quality of services, the quality of accommodation, quality of transport. But at the same time, when people go from Assam to Arunachal, they should feel like, oh wow, this is a completely new culture, new place to see. So, that's I think.
Any questions from the audience? A great panel. Any questions you want to shoot at them? Raise someone? No? Okay. Is there a model in India? And Kerala had a model that they tried. When they stopped tourism for a bit, tried to rework what they're really doing, and then got back. Is there something in the global market that, and again I'm going to say the size does not fit, but there are learnings from. Is there something that stands out for you all from the industry that you all have seen and perhaps you think can be adopted in India?
So many of them.
Mm.
If you look at even smaller destinations or large, because obviously prime example Bhutan, next door neighbor, very, has done a fabulous job. But besides that, Slovenia, South America, to like Greenland and all of that. So the key for their success has been that their stakeholders are so involved at the common vision that benefits everybody. And it has to be flexible. It can't be like, okay, I only want to favor large hotels or I only want to favor boutique hotels. But everybody has to have a common goal that by this, time that we are all going to achieve this together. And you have a mandate and a set agenda for that. And it's a huge success story.
And that I think is the biggest takeaway, right? How can you have stakeholders involved in policy making from scratch, right? And setting yourself maybe a 10-year goal, revisiting it every year, looking at what are the learnings from the previous years, how we can adapt, how we can change. And I think that will help each state, of course, different from each other, but also for the region to benefit. Thank you so much. It was lovely to have you here. Thank you to the audience.